because, as I said, I was up covering BlizzCon, right? That was the key thing that I was like dedicating my attention to this weekend. And just so many fucking, you know, like, I just don't even understand how Blizzard, like, as a company can sort of fuck this up so consistently. Everything they touch is just like, it's just tainted now, and it's just garbage. I watched the entire thing. I think I've written the best thing I've written in years. I wrote basically like 2,000 words talking about what a disgrace it is and how Blizzard just think you're all idiots, and it turns out we probably are idiots because we just, here's a bit of nostalgia and we just let them get away with their bullshit, you know? Like, I saw all the people. It's incredible, right? You know, all the verifieds and the wannabe verifieds and the Overwatch losers and incels. And what they do is, they were like, oh yeah, solidarity with Blitzchung, free Hong Kong, fuck Blizzard, corporate bootlickers. Then they live tweeted the Overwatch reveal. Oh my god! Tracer pinching Bridget's cheeks is everything! Hey, fucking beam me up, mate. You know what I mean? Like, I just can't. Like, you're gonna sit there and fucking provide live corporate fucking, you know, free advertising. You don't get to criticize the corporation then. Like, you're obviously complicit in some way. Look at Winston! Oh my god! I wish Winston. All the furries around. I'd love to have sex with Winston. Like, just no one's fucking normal over in that scene. By the way, like, I used to think it was the minority. It ain't. 100% straight majority all up on that motherfucker. But anyway, so, you know, they're all live tweeting corporate propaganda. So I wrote this thing. It's 2,000 words. It's just a screed. I can't wait for it to come out. I even tweeted a line because I know Deserto will fucking edit my shit. Like, they already, like, I'll tell you something about Deserto, because obviously I'm only there as a freelancer, so I'll just say what the fuck I want. Obviously, like, listen, like, if Deserto ever say, Rich, we don't want you here, which they definitely ain't going to do before awards season, because they get some clout out of having, like, 4 nominated esports journalists. So, they will they hate how hard I go sometimes. They weren't ready for picking up a writer like me. Like, no way. Like, they're not equipped, man. It's either investigative journalism and we got people threatening us with lawyers, or it's outrageous opinion pieces where I'm just burning everybody. So I did this line, like, maybe some of you don't follow me on Twitter so you didn't catch it, but I said, yes, the Overwatch fan base is right up there with the mewling man babies that think Disney's version of Star Wars is epic. Too overinvested and socially inept to ever detach themselves from the umbilical cord of warm feelings that most functional adults get from human interactions. Straight facts, straight fire. I know it's getting chopped out though. So when it comes out, guys, like, you know what happened there. But anyway, so Blizzard, they can't do anything properly. They can't do anything properly at all. And there was a story that kind of just went, it just flew under everyone's radar. Because as I'm going to demonstrate, by the way, they still have friends in the media for all the bullshit that they do. Thanks for the $5 donation, Super Dragon. Like, for all the bullshit that they do, they've always got these reliable outlets that'll just basically, like, eat up. They leave this, like, breadcrumb trail of, like, fake, you know, fake progressiveness and fake wokeness. And these media outlets are like, oh, my God, but look at this. Like, oh, Soldier 76 is gay, and here's why it matters. And while you're doing that, you ain't talking about the bullshit they're doing. And the media fall for it every time. Like, the media is so stupid, so fucking jacked up on its idea that they're the smartest motherfuckers in the room. They get played every time. Trump playing you with a fucking dog meme, you know. It's ridiculous how easily played the average journalist is, and yet they're meant to be the savvy ones that are meant to critically think. No, they just write up any old shit. Any old shit to make them front and center. So there was a story that happened before, like, BlizzCon even got underway, and I was, like, really surprised, like, no one was talking about it, but such are the times. I would have thought this would have been a much bigger deal. So, oh, hang on. We turned the P-score stuff off. So, this is, if you follow World of Warcraft, you might have heard about this, because I think Asmongold highlighted it. Obviously, Asmongold, biggest World of Warcraft streamer. Blizzard withdraws $500,000 from the WoW prize pool after crowdfunding hits the target. So if you don't know what was going on, right? Blizzard, who widely rejected crowdfunding in StarCraft for the longest time, and then they've basically come around, like having seen, you know, how successful TI is. All these other devs that like weren't happy with crowdfunding have realized it's a better way to go, right? So basically what happened was the World of Warcraft did a blog post putting it out where they said that they were gonna have a prize pool for the upcoming events that they had, which is there's like an arena event and like a PvP event, if I remember rightly. Anyway, so $660,000, right? And they said they were going to put in money up to like $500,000 based on, you know, no matter what happened, right? That was kind of how it was framed. So obviously, since WoW Classic, which, by the way, can we just say straight up, one of the most ridiculous things I think Blizzard have ever done as a business decision is delay WoW Classic for as long as they did. Like, I've had some time now. I've mentioned this in the article that I wrote. I've played both versions of WoW now. I played through Classic. I got to like level 50. I've been on that grind. I thought what I would do is I would create the same character in new WoW from scratch and start leveling up. The two games aren't even comparable. The modern WoW, when you've played Classic for a while, is just so fucking boring and so fucking like isolated and no real sense of achievement. It puts you on a conveyor belt. So whatever character you want to create, you say at the start, and you're on a conveyor belt of experience until you get to that level, the max level, and then you can do like mythic dungeons and all that shit. That's all it is. You're just on rails. It ain't like Classic where you're fucking all over the place. And anyway, Blizzard came out and said, you think you want Classic back, but you don't. Well, undoubtedly now, having played both, I think I prefer Classic. And that's saying it as a neutral guy with no nostalgia, because I didn't play Classic the first time around. I tapped out a WoW very early on. But Classic is a much more fulfilling experience. That's just legit. So Blizzard, right, like, put that off anyway. Now it's had this huge resurgence, World of Warcraft, the attention it's getting because of the relaunch of Classic, and Blizzard are basically like sat back, huffing the smell of their own farts, like, we were right all along. Nah, the community were right all along. People like Grums, who made the original and had like vanilla servers up, you know, they were right all along. You weren't right. You did it because it was like, fuck it, we got nothing to lose, and if we can charge dickheads essentially for the same product twice, we all about that up in corporate land. So that's what you did. So anyway, the crowdfunding was absolutely crazy, and it raised $2.4 million, right? And Blizzard had used the line, because of your direct support in the blog. So what they did was, because the crowdfund was so big, they just didn't put their money in. Just like, no, we don't need to now, guys. Well done. Thanks very much. Which sort of defeats what the whole fucking crowdfunding aspect of it was. So they were expecting it to be shit, said we guarantee like $500,000. It goes to 2.4. They go, yeah, well, we ain't putting no money in now. Cheers, guys, cheers. Can you fucking believe that? Can you believe the audacity of that? So, and it gets worse when you start looking into it, because at first, Asmongold deleted this tweet, by the way, that you can see here. He said, attention people who are mad about Blizzard supposedly not contributing any money to the prize pool. This is a completely unfounded conclusion. There is no place that states Blizzard won't contribute if the pool is too big. Let's wait for more info. Now, usually Asmongold, like, I respect him for this, because Asmongold was saying, like, listen, let's not jump to any fucking conclusions. Asmongold got more reasons than anyone to be all up on Blizzard shit. Like, the way they've treated him is fucking outrageous, considering the proportionate size and everything he's done for WoW and how much attention he's generated for their games, their products down the years. But anyway, there was a guy who, as you'll find out, definitely is a reliable source. So this is a guy called Chan over at Cloud9. Says here, Blizzard did not contribute a single cent to the AWC and MDI prize pools this year. They pulled their own base contribution of $500,000 when they realized how well the crowdfunding did. It hit $2.64 million US. I wonder how many who bought the toys would have if they had known that they were going to do this. And then, when he replied to Asmongold here, he said, listen, it's simple. All the competitors got into a players meeting, including myself. We asked, and they told us exactly this there. You can ask anyone who was in the AWC or MDI competitors, including myself, to confirm this. Heck, I'm sure D-Machine will too. There's absolutely zero reason for me to bring this up if it wasn't true. Blizzard doesn't mention in the blog post to save face. So basically, I was waiting because the whole strategy, if you noticed, for this BlizzCon was basically like, let's fucking start with an apology, which we're going to get to. Let's throw nostalgia in their faces, feel-good stuff. Like, let's be real. Day one, they hit you with some bullshit. They hit you with a fake apology, and then immediately fucking went into selling you a fake sequel. Because Overwatch 2 ain't no sequel. Overwatch 2 is an expansion pack, and they're calling it a sequel so they can sell it to you for $40. And Overwatch motherfuckers who are all jacked up on the lore and maybe Yabby Faith, all those fucking gremlins, they're going to pay it. They're going to pay it so they can shoot at fucking robots with a different fucking Genji skin or whatever. Like, so, I don't know, guys. Like, they literally got fucked. It is like, I remember a time, by the way, when every multiplayer game had a single-player campaign. It's almost like single-player campaigns are the foundation of what games should be. I shouldn't have to go online and find other fucking people to play games with. I should be able to play my own shit. You should sell me a product that I can use at my leisure. After all, they're leisure products, right? So no, they don't do that. What they do now is they basically, like, if you do get a single-player campaign, which Activision Blizzard have been trying to strip that out of every game and see if they can get away with it, what they do is they basically create a shit tutorial. I mean, that's what a single-player campaign is now. It's a shit tutorial, like, for the main game, which is online with microtransactions and loot boxes. And by the way, as I said, which I know y'all on the stream fucking listen to what I got to say, but nobody in the Overwatch community listens to what I got to say. So I'll say it again for the people in the back. The reason Overwatch 2 exists is because this is the Overwatch fans, you weren't buying loot boxes. I had multiple Blizzard staff tell me this shit. They told me that basically Overwatch isn't making the kind of cash that they hoped it would for a game that's only 3.5 years old, so they need something to do a cash injection. They didn't trust to put content into the game because they don't think anyone will buy it. By the way, no one's even playing it. You notice those queue times getting longer and longer. So they wanted to kill two birds with one stone. We create a new mode, we call it a sequel. People flock back to the game, right? And they got to pay like $40 just to do it. So you notice they didn't announce the price. They're not announcing the price because they're waiting. They're going to leak it to a Jason Schreier or someone like that, and it's going to come out that it's $40 or thereabouts, maybe $30 if you're lucky, and then they're going to wait and gauge the outrage. And when you ain't outraged, they're going to fucking jam it up your ass. And if you are outraged, they'll lower it to like 20 or whatever and go, well, we never said what the price was. Get played. You motherfuckers are fucking marionettes. Just, we love you, Blizzard. Please, can we dance for you, Blizzard? It's ridiculous, mate. Oh, fuck you, all mugs. Anyway, so I couldn't believe this. I haven't read this. This is in Spiel Times. It's German, I imagine, with the name like Spiel. Spiel means to play, or game. It can also mean, right? But anyway, so the why isn't this like front page on every website? Like, this is outrageous. But no, ain't gonna talk about it. What we will talk about now, I guess, is their apology. How they chose to start the whole ceremony. Nothing gets us fucking jacked up feeling good than an apology, right? So let me just show you. I don't need to play you the whole thing. Like, you just got to see this. Now, there's one thing I'll say. Have you ever noticed how corporate executives, when they come out and apologize, they get all misty-eyed, right? There's a lot going on psychologically. I just want to tell you. I remember when Cecilia D'Anastasio came out and basically said, like, when she was doing her reporting on the outrageous shit that was going on over at Riot Games. And apparently when Mark Merrill apologized to the women, he started crying. Who do you think those tears are for? Because it's there for him. What it is these people believe they're Christ-like figures, right? So they believe that they're infallible. They have huge egos. They believe that, you know, they don't make mistakes. They're not like us. They're not mortal. And then what happens is they go, like, when something bad is happening and it's happened on their watch and it's time for a mea culpa, what they do is they start crying, but the tears aren't for you. The tears aren't for the victims. The tears aren't for the people affected by their mistake. It's because in that moment they go, this is how Christ must have felt when he realized he was human. They are so fucking deluded. They are so vain. They are so fucking out there compared to everybody else, right? And this apology is exactly that. It's not an apology. It doesn't acknowledge any of the specifics. They immediately contradicted it in an interview, which I'm going to show you. But watch how he gets jacked up. Watch how fucking old Bracky boy gets fucking jacked up on the idea that he is human and he made a mistake. And just look what it does to him emotionally. This apology is fucking cheeks. It's outrageous. Right, here we go.
How you feeling, Blizzcon? Before we start the opening ceremony, I want to say a few words.
Oh, yeah.
You know, Blizzard had the opportunity to bring the world together in a tough Hearthstone esports moment.
Just watch how the tears start to form.
About a month ago. And we did not. We moved too quickly in our decision making. And then, to make matters worse, we were too slow to talk with all of you. When I think about what I'm most unhappy about, it's really two things.
Are either of these things siding with a tyrannical government because it makes you money? Let's see.
The first one is we didn't live up to the high standards that we really set for ourselves.
One of the things that made me really sad is that I know how fucking awesome we are, and we weren't awesome this time. Sorry, guys. That really hurt my feelings. Fuck the Uyghur Muslims, by the way.
And the second is we failed in our purpose.
Right.
And for that, I am sorry, and I accept accountability.
Oh, voice wobble.
So what exactly...
Right. You'll notice as well, smatterings of pauses in the syncopation of the speech to get the applause. And it's like, I take accountability. They ain't doing shit, by the way. Accountability means like, oh yeah, we fucked up, we did something, we're going to own our shit and we're going to fix it. Nah, ain't none of that going on. But like, listen, I can do some crocodile tears for you and do a little dance.
And I accept accountability. So what exactly...
Why would anybody applaud this? Like, you fucking shills. People are like, we love you. Yeah, we love you, man. Right, so anyway, that's the fucking apology, right? That's the apology, by the way, right? Like, it is ridiculous. It is absurd. Now, again, just to spell it out, because I'm being a little bit facetious and a little bit cheeky, right? This is all relates to Hearthstone, of course. This relates to the Blitzchung situation, where basically, in case you haven't followed it, I don't know how you could have missed it. I mean, actually, turns out Hearthstone people don't give a shit. I did a fucking interview with Admirable, you know, one of the guys who basically stepped away from working with Blizzard to side with the correct principles in this particular issue. And I did a 90-minute interview with him. It goes onto the Hearthstone subreddit, gets downvoted, top comment, I ain't got time to watch a 90-minute interview with anybody. Brilliant. Great job, guys. Who gives a fuck about any topical issues? Who cares about anything? Who cares about the inner thoughts of one of your, you know, voices of the game? Hearthstone. You know, I learn something new about communities every time. And the fact that Hearthstone fans don't like long-form content is mind-blowing to me. But whatever. So, if you missed it, Blitzchung said, "Free Hong Kong, revolution in our time," while wearing a gas mask to show solidarity with Hong Kong protesters on a Hearthstone broadcast. No one in their right mind thinks there shouldn't have been some sort of punishment, maybe a warning, maybe a temporary suspension, maybe a percentage of the winnings that he'd won because he'd won the tournament, it was a winner's interview, something along those lines, and I think we're all okay with it. Instead, what Blizzard did Blizzard banned him for a year from the tournament circuit, took back a year's worth of prize money, and banned the casters also from working with Blizzard for a year. Then, when there was outrage, because that punishment would have been one of the harshest punishments in the history of esports ever, apart from what's going on over in FIFA right now, where a guy got permanently banned from playing in any EA, FIFA esports for spitting on an EA logo on his stream. Okay, cool. These developers, mate, they think you're scum, by the way. So, right. So anyway, they then walked it back, gave him 6 months, and that's that, right? So, 6 months is still too excessive, and everybody agrees, and that's why guys like Admirable, Brian Kibler, people like me, everyone's outraged with this. This apology doesn't acknowledge any of that. It doesn't even say the specific thing we did wrong. It doesn't say, moving forward, we're going to lower the penalties. 6 months is too long. It just says, like, we failed ourselves, and I take accountability for that. Yeah, you're a CEO, mate. Of course you do. Like, that's why you get paid millions every year. But you ain't said anything. You ain't apologized. So I'm like, okay, cool. Right? Like, there's going to be something off the back of that. Well, here's what's off the back of that. They did an interview with PC Gamer. By the way, in the fucking awful landscape for games journalism, like, it's good to see journalists that actually do their job. So credit to PC Gamer. This is Stephen Mesner. I don't know if he's a cunt or not, but he did his job here. They called up Mr. Brack, J. Allen Brack, and basically did an interview with him over the phone while BlizzCon was going on to get some clarity on what he meant, because I was as confused as anybody else. Like, what the fuck are you even talking about? What does any of this mean? So just listen to this, right? I wanted to revisit the statement you made at the beginning of the opening ceremony yesterday. You said Blizzard is committed to everyone's right to express themselves in all kinds of ways and all kinds of places. And you made a commitment to do better going forward, and that your actions are going to matter more than words do. Are you going to be repealing the punishment against Blitzchung and the 2 Taiwanese casters involved in this incident? We are not. Great start, guys. Great. We're off to a good start. Nah, I ain't going to do that, though. Yeah, what we did is wrong, and we're going to do better in the future, but we ain't going to undo the wrong that we did, though. Ain't going to do it. No. Nah. Right, okay. Next question. Good question. Why? So one of the things we talked about in the commitment to expression about all kinds of ways and all kinds of places is the fact that we're huge believers in free speech. Lol. Stop repealing press passes, then. Stop repealing them press passes. Stop threatening journalists that don't write positive things like about Blizzard not being allowed to go to events. You've done it to multiple outlets, by the way. Don't make me expose you. If you're committed to that, let the press be the press. Anyway, and we're huge believers in free expression. We have a long history of that being part of the culture of the company for employees. That's certainly part of the culture of the relationship we have with the community. And so employees are free to post on their social media accounts. If you think about the people that we have that are esports athletes or grandmasters, our grandmasters, or anyone who's participating in esports, they're free to say and do whatever they want on their social channels. Also wrong. Like, why then, when we were having debates about whether or not I was going to be the host of the E-League thing, why did it get brought up that I'm a Trump supporter when I ain't? That's on all of these views are on my private opinion. Yet you told E-League you would pull the game from the E-League broadcast if I was the host for it. So again, my experience doesn't measure up at all with what you're talking about. In fact, you're lying now. You're lying. Because I've never said anything on an official Blizzard broadcast that would ever make you think anything about my politics, because I don't talk about politics in the middle of an esports broadcast unless it was like something that isn't political. Like, you know what I mean? Like, racism isn't a political issue. You just don't be racist. LGBT rights, this isn't a political issue. Just let people have rights. Like, these aren't issues. But anyway, I feel like we have a far more open set of guidelines and policies than any other traditional sport, and take a view around making sure all of the people stay on message. And so that's how we think about free expression and how we've contextualized it. We want the official broadcasts, which are a small percentage of the overall content that gets created, to be about the games. And we want those to be focused on games. Again, it's not about the content of Blitzchung's message. It's about the fact that it was not around the games. But this is nonsense. This is nonsense. Now, again, I don't consider it a political issue, but you had Pride Week on the Western broadcast for Overwatch, where you went to a gay bar and people were holding up rainbow flags and everything, and it's like, guys, like, I'm cool with that. Like, you know, obviously, don't fucking bother me. I'm in that club. If many people in that club weren't so insufferable, I'd probably be more vocal about being in that club. But the reality is this. That's got nothing to do with the game neither, son. That's got nothing to do with the game neither. You even wore a rainbow pin, by the way, while you gave your speech, which I don't consider it political, so I don't consider it hypocritical, but just saying. If it's got to be all about the game, then it's got to be all about the game. And obviously you know it isn't about the game, because remember, you censored the Pride part of the broadcast in China and Korea because you didn't want to offend those guys. So what are we talking about? It's nonsensical, it's hypocritical. Not to mention as well, just moving all that aside, why is it you have fucking people just tweeting shit in, like, randomly, like, oh, look at me, man. It's got nothing to do with the game. But what you're trying to do is you're trying to show this sense of community. You're trying to grow things. You're trying to make things bigger than what they are. You don't exist in a vacuum, right? And one of your players, a Hong Kong national, is dealing with some fucking heinous shit in his country and wanted to draw attention to it on the largest platform when he just won a tournament. You should support that shit. Right, anyway. It goes down. So Blizzard's perspective is that, of course, you want players to express themselves except for when it's taking place through official channels. That's right. Is it fair to say that if Blitzchung had said any political message, it would have incurred the same punishment? It wasn't that he was specifically calling for Hong Kong's freedom. It was that he was saying anything political. That's correct. The content was not the problem. It was the fact it was not about the game in question. It was something very specifically different. I think, and I don't want to speculate around if he had said this, that, or the other, and how it would have gone. I think that's a difficult thing to think about, but it's not about the content of the message. There are many people that are supportive of him in his message. Basically there, contradicting what he said, because he goes, oh, I don't want to speculate. If somebody had got up and said fucking impeach Donald Trump, no one's fucking having this conversation. It was because it was anti-China. It was because it was anti-China. The end. You got to own that shit, Blizzard. You got to own that shit. You got to own that shit. And that's why you won't speculate about it. Because the reality is, if somebody had got up and like, I don't know, fuck it. I reckon, put it this way. Here's how it goes. Somebody gets up and says impeach Donald Trump during an interview, you do nothing. Because you've let Overwatch be used, by the way, in political campaigns, insulting Donald Trump. So we know which side your bread's buttered. Your former CEO spoke out against some of Donald Trump's policies very publicly. And again, I fully support the right to do that, and I think if you disagree with something a politician's doing, definitely bring attention to it and raise awareness. Even if I disagree with your take or disagree with how you present the information, definitely express yourself. What you do for a living does not preclude you from expressing a political opinion. Only if what you did for a living was in somehow direct contravention of it being appropriate, like, for example, being a teacher. It's not appropriate for a teacher to go into the class and tell kids, like, oh, you know, like, using it like your personal pulpit to fucking create, you know, future voters for the party you support, right? It's inappropriate. You should be fired if you do that. But if you're a games dev, who gives a fuck? So it would have gone like this. Impeach Donald Trump, no action. Make America great again, 3-month ban. Fuck China. You would have banned him for life if you could have got away with it. Let's be real. All you want to do is sell your fucking games out there. Then it goes out here. One thing I'm curious about that has been downplayed in all of this is the 2 Taiwanese casters and their role in the incident. I want to understand their punishment specifically. I've been in contact with one of them, and understandably, they're quite frustrated with how things played out. They don't feel like they're to blame for what Blitzchung had to say. They're not. Their crime is being from Taiwan. And so the Chinese overlords that you pander to created a conspiracy theory. Well, Taiwan don't like us because we don't recognize them, and Hong Kong don't like us because we're trying to pass laws that would allow us to rendition them. So it's all a big conspiracy. So you banned them for 6 months. That's 100% what went down, right? If they hadn't been Taiwanese, they probably skate, right? Nah, come on. Who you lying to, cuz? Right? Are the Asian Pacific casters or any of your esports casters given specific training on how to handle on-air breaches of protocol? And this is a wicked question. This is a wicked question because let me tell you firsthand, when you are a freelance commentator, right, I am telling you, much like what DreamHack did to me, they get all the protections of being able to throw you under the bus. I saw Seaside in the chat, right? There was just another story, which I might do something on in Counter-Strike. 2 commentators were like fucking basically saying, God, these teams are bad, commentating on a collegiate league. And one of the players in that game who was shit fucking complained, right? And they got fired because of it. So you can't even criticize what you're seeing now. That's going to rapidly become the new standard. But anyway, what happens is, right, they throw you on air, and your entire lifeline is here. It's a voice in your ear, right? And basically, if somebody does something crazy, like invades the stage or whatever, you need the instructions on what to do. And trust me, they never come. Half the time, an average esports producer ain't even looking on the fucking screen. I'll tell you the difference between working on TV and working on fucking an average esports event, because I've done both. And when you're on TV, there's so many people looking at what's going on and which cameras to cut to and how to set up a joke and how to get, like, narrative context. It doesn't happen in esports. It's a static, flat shot of just 2 people talking for as long as they got to fill time for until we can get to an ad break or to a game. And that guy in your ear ain't paying attention. So that's number one. You don't get trained what to do if there's a mistake. You ain't trained at all. You're just hired. Second, because you're a fucking freelancer, if anything bad happens, they just blame it on you and throw you under the bus, much like what Blizzard did here to these guys. So no, they don't get training. And they're not interested in training you, nor would any esports organization, tournament organizer, big game dev spend the money. They use freelancers to save money. Do fuck you. They're not going to then invest in you and take some time to give you media training, what to do if an interviewer says something outrageous or whatever. They ain't going to do it. So you're on your own. And every time there's a mistake, not to mention hot mic here, you're having a conversation like saying, yeah, anyway, so I'm definitely going to vote for Donald Trump in 2020. That goes out live. You're now a fucking Nazi. Thanks, hot mic. So you are not protected at all, and you will always be the fucking sacrificial lamb whenever anything goes wrong. Check out Brack's answer to this. I think we have a long history of long relationship with a lot of different casters. It's clear that the goal is to have the broadcast move forward and be about the games. There's a lot of different interpretations around the casters and whether they were involved with Blitzchung or not, but that's not something we considered. Lies. What we considered with them was that they were hired by Blizzard to do a job, and in this case, that job is to keep the broadcast focused on what it needs to be focused on, which is the games, the winners, and the stories coming out of there. They were not successful in their job. That's how we made the decision on that. So, listen, why not? Why doesn't the producer, who, by the way, he's not been banned, guy who literally put Blitzchung's interview on air, isn't banned. As soon as the guy's rocking a gas mask, do you not think that something's happening? Do you not think something's up? He's got a fucking gas mask on, for fuck's sake. Just cut away. Just go to a break. Just, go back to the static shot. Tell the interviewers, listen, guys, we're not going to do this interview because I think he's going to pull some bullshit. Throw to a break now, please. They go, we're going to get right back to you. We're just going to go to a break. It's embarrassing, but none of the drama happens if you do that, and you don't have to fire these casters. You didn't protect your employees. You then don't get to say it was their fault for, stopping him, for not stopping him. Nah, your producer, your director, they're the people that responsible for what goes out on broadcast, not commentators. Get your fucking head out your ass. This is undeniable, by the way. You will not find anybody that works in broadcasting that would ever say that it is the job of the desk host to fucking just cut the fucking feed, man. You're in charge. You're pressing the buttons. You're going to blame some fucking freelance casters. Outrageous. And this is what I mean. Think back to that apology and how it said nothing. And now think about this interview that happened like a day after, a few hours after. Where's the outrage about this? None. Because, we've been showered with our nostalgia. Diablo 4. Yes, it's gonna be dark. It's so dark. Yeah, it will be dark, because you won't be able to fucking log in and play it when it launches, like Diablo 3, you fucking short-memoried mugs. It's ridiculous. Like, you just fucking... Like, they just serve you up some fucking cold shit, and dinner's ready. Morons. There's been a suspicion that China and your Chinese business had an influence on the decision and the statement Blizzard made. Can you confirm for me, on the record, whether NetEase or any of your Chinese partners didn't have any sort of influence on your decision in this incident? And this is great, right? Because now we're going to get into that fucking Weibo post, right? Where I know it's pronounced Weibo or whatever, Weibo, I don't even know. But I'm calling it Weibo forever because it's too funny. So this is it, man. Again, masterclass of an interview, this. Okay, glad you asked that. Definitely not glad. Because I'd love to be very clear. The first thing that I want to talk to you about is there is a massive amount of either confusion or non-understanding around what the regulations are in China. Blizzard is not legally allowed to operate or publish a game in China. You must have a partner. That is the regulation. That is the law. NetEase is our partner. NetEase is not a government agency. NetEase is a company. They're a publisher. Now, listen, no one's confused about that. Doesn't everybody know that by now? Haven't I been banging on about that for years? Like, it's common knowledge, right? Like, if you want to do any business in China, you got to have a Chinese partner, because China says we got to get some. You can't just come out here and have the biggest market in the world. You got to do things our way, the way we say. We'll hook you up with a Chinese partner. They get a share of the profits, but don't worry, we got like 2 billion people, so everyone's going to make some scratch. That's how they do it. Everybody knows that. So the idea, by the way, that this somehow like absolves them, going, like Blizzard doesn't have any influence in China, we're just selling our game. Fuck up, man. You chose to partner up with these people. You choose to work with NetEase. You gave NetEase a cut of your Overwatch league. You know, it's by allowing them have some connections to a fucking franchise slot, the Shanghai Dragons or whatever. It's crazy that you're trying to make out that just because NetEase isn't the Chinese government, that we're just powerless in this entire equation. Poor little Blizzard, this multinational media monolith, we just got to do what NetEase say, like, fuck up. And then it goes, right? One of the things that has kind of come up around this is the Blizzard Weibo post and the text around that. We are not legally allowed to operate those channels. We are not legally allowed to contribute. That is a NetEase decision. They are the publisher in China. Was NetEase in conversation around this issue? They were, certainly. Hang on. That's odd, because in your original statement, you said, quote, your decision had nothing. That's nothing, right? Okay, so this bottle of water is something. This in my hands now is nothing. Nothing is absolute zero, no influence. You said nothing, right? You said there was the decision had nothing to do with Chinese business interests. Yet here you say NetEase had a conversation with you. Yeah, you're right, actually, guys. We haven't done that for a while. Nonsense. We haven't done a nonsense for a while, have we? You said here, right, that a Chinese company had a conversation with you about it. So how's that nothing? Now, I'm not saying it's everything, but it definitely ain't nothing, you see. Because it's like we don't exist in a binary world, you know? So, okay, was NetEase in conversation around the issue? They were, certainly. As were the Blizzard Taiwan team, as was the Hearthstone leadership team, as was the esports team. All those various constituencies came together, and one of the things that we said was we acted very rapidly and we acted very quickly. That's sort of the same thing. It's okay, brother. You can tell you're getting a bit flustered with this interview. And that's certainly the failure of this story, in those groups coming together and deciding in a very short amount of time what the right action to take this forward was. Now listen, that doesn't answer the question at all, does it? about how much influence NetEase actually had. And then the follow-up question, bish bosh, it's a left and a right, perfect. So, the Weibo post that talked about defending the pride of China was written by NetEase. Correct. We did not authorize it. We did not approve it. We would not have approved it if they had asked. So, in other words, what you're saying is, your Chinese partners, that first of all, they got it right that you were going to punish them. So they knew what the decision was. They went from that meeting that you had about what action to take, where apparently they had no influence because you said nothing. Then they went and made a post saying, we will always defend the pride of China, and you can't stop them doing that. So what you're saying is, in China, NetEase just get to do and say what the fuck they want while representing Activision Blizzard. I kind of think, mate, that's actually worse than what we thought was happening. Like, what you're saying is NetEase can just do what the fuck they want, and you can't stop them. Great. Perfect. Love that. Love that. Keep in mind, it was a NetEase employee as well that came out and went, yeah, we took that black guy out of Diablo on mobile because, you know, Chinese people, they're just not ready for black antagonists yet. Perfect. Love it. Great. NetEase. Perfect. Let them say whatever they want. They're repping you, by the way, in the biggest region in the world. That's fine, though. They can just say whatever they want. We've got no control over them. With regards to the casters being reinstated, you've admitted that this situation was mishandled on Blizzard's behalf. I'm wondering why that same sort of forgiveness isn't being extended to the casters. Considering Blizzard admits it mishandled the situation, why haven't you decided to be more graceful with them and their punishment? We have been more graceful. See, we've been, dudes, they'll gaslight you. We've been graceful. Of course we've been graceful. The initial reaction was that we would not work with the casters ever again. In our revised statement, we came to the conclusion that it felt like the casters and Blitzchung, well, we wanted to align their penalty. So we've come out and said they have a 6-month penalty. Yo, you never even said that bit publicly, by the way. They never even said that publicly, that we would never work with them again. You said you weren't going to work with them for a year. Caught you lying. You were going to do exactly what I said. And here's the rub. You won't work with them again. You'll find some other bullshit to get them on. You will not hire these guys again. Clip it. Boop. You'll find something. Like when one of the guys went on his stream and was crying. You'll find something. But yeah, you publicly were saying we ain't going to work with them for a year. Internally, you made the decision we're just never going to work with those guys again. Brilliant. Love it. Love that shit. So that was the apology. That was the apology contextualized. This is Activision Blizzard. And this interview is bombastic as far as I'm concerned. This interview should be blowing up. People should be talking about it. But nah, they don't. I'm going to give you a demonstration now of why it doesn't happen, right? And then we're going to talk about Donald Trump getting, memeing on journalists because of a dog, right? So here's what happens, right? Polygon, okay? They are a very prominent games outlet for reasons I can't understand. I don't know why they still are, why they're still relevant, right? So they did a piece, and just look at it. Like, it's ridiculous. Like, compare this PC Gamer interview here and what's been said, and let's have a look at the Polygon write-up, right? Polygon, by the way, Blizzard shills. Blizzcon 2019, Blizzard apologizes for its response to Hong Kong protests. The past month has been tumultuous for the company. By the way, this is Nicole Carpenter. Nicole Carpenter was one of the journalists that publicly said, oh yeah, I knew Heroes of the Storm was getting shut down. Journalists got told weeks ago. The casters didn't, the players didn't, the orgs didn't. She was getting that information and didn't publish it. She is a Blizzard asset at that point. So just putting that out there, okay? You know, far be it from me to ever talk about journalistic ethics, because every time I do, it's called an attack or something like that. But you probably should have reported that when you found out about it. I would have. The only reason you ever have to sit on a story is if it's going to negatively affect somebody based on the timing you release it. Usually a source, primarily. But anyway, so just look. BlizzCon, apology, address the ongoing criticism. We moved too quickly. Here's the rest of it. Blizzard did not speak directly about Blitzchung, nor did it talk about whether they'd be adjusting his punishment any further. He said Blizzard's relationship with China had no bearing on it. I mean, that's it. It's just completely, like, just non-critical. It frames it like they apologized. They really didn't. They didn't even address it by name. So what were they apologizing for? They couldn't even bring themselves to explicitly say. Then when you start looking at, like, what they were live tweeting while this was going on, this is what I'm talking about. This is one of the editors over at Polygon. Right? And this is how Blizzard fucking get you every time. This is a now deleted tweet by Patricia Hernandez. Yes, Overwatch 2, but also look, Tracer keeps a picture of her girlfriend with her. This is what I mean. They sprinkle this shit into their fucking, like, lore and into their games. So instead of you talking about the protests going on outside, or the ongoing problems, or, you know, that they've got, or the non-apology, or the fake sequel, or, you know, how they changed some of their Q&As so they were curated off Reddit to try and stop people asking difficult questions because they didn't want another red shirt guy asking if it's an April Fool's joke. Instead of reporting any of that stuff that was very apparent for anyone that watched BlizzCon like I did, you're talking about this. Yeah. Brilliant. You got played again. And then she deleted that tweet because people were like saying, yeah, but what about this other stuff? So she just deleted it and wasn't like, oh, well, that's a good question. Because you can't be self-reflective when you're a journalist. Like, any criticism is an attack. You are never wrong. You're a journalist. You're never wrong. Journalists can't be wrong by definition. They've misunderstood, you see. Journalists are meant to tell the truth. It doesn't mean that everything you say is the truth, right? But journalists, they lost their marbles. They started to believe, you know, get jacked up on their own fucking hubris to just unprecedented stuff. Deleted the tweet I made, noting that Tracer kept a pic of her girlfriend with her in the Overwatch 2 trailer because the response was ridiculous. Listen, I don't even really play Blizzard games, but it was my job to watch yesterday, so I did. Perfect. Like, these are the people that you can rely upon all the time to give you the straight dope about what's going on in the fucking games industry. Editor for Polygon. I don't even play them games. What's that got to do with reporting? Ridiculous.